Can I start speaking?
Yes, please.
Okay. So thank you very much and good evening to everybody. My name is Kevin. And it's absolutely not lost on all of us that all of you who have registered to join BicTok 20 today have chosen to spend the first part of your evening, this Chap Gourmet, with these three speakers. And it says a lot for these three gentlemen who are here today, especially given their experiences and what I think all of you will be able to learn and take off the table from all that they may have to share with us. I was meant to give a brief introduction of these three speakers, but I'm going to leave that for the speakers themselves, for them to explain to us and tell us who they are, and in terms of what their experiences were, in terms of their practice, where they came from, and what they've been doing for the past 10, 20 years. But I will nevertheless explain to you and tell you and introduce to you very briefly who these three speakers are. First up, we have Judge Dato Varghese George, who is a retired judge of the Court of Appeal of Malaysia and who is now a full-time international arbitrator. We have Mr. Sudarsanan Thilanathan, who is a very senior practicing lawyer of almost 30 years, and who is currently with a very large prominent law firm in Kuala Lumpur. And Mr. Justin Ong, who everybody knows is with Messrs. Scribe here in Kuala Lumpur, who gives us legal support services. And Justin, of course, knows everybody and who's who here in Kuala Lumpur as well as in Sabah Sarawak. Least for me to say is the three of these gentlemen are absolute bona fide superstars in our practice, in dispute resolution practice here in Kuala Lumpur and in Malaysia. But they're not here to speak about a particular case. They're not here to speak about developments in the law. They are here to tell you what I think is the most important thing for us to learn and understand if we are getting ready to prepare and start our own practice. All of us here will know and understand that when we start off our practices in larger firms, we think we are masters of the universe, but we are really not. And we find that out from day one when we come out and we start our own practice. And then we have to learn everything from scratch. What do we do in terms of finance, in terms of managing client expectations, clients' interests, conflicts, and all these things that we tend to learn only on the go. That's, I hope, will stop here and right now. And which is why these three speakers have been invited here today to tell us what their experiences are, to tell us, or at least to give us some advice on a path forward for all of you here, especially all you young practitioners out there. It doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer, you could be a QS or an architect or an engineer who are planning to start your own disputes practice. What is it that you should look out for? What is it that you should prepare for before you go into it? Or if you're already into it, what is it that you can do to elevate your practice? Now, I'm going to start off first by asking the three speakers to introduce themselves. And first up, Dato Varghese George, could you explain to us and explain a little bit about yourself in terms of your context, your professional background, your career arc, and where you're from and where are you going, sir?
Okay, thank you, Kevin, fellow panelists and participants. It's indeed an honor and privilege to join in this discussion this evening. Well, if you ask me, I was called to the bar in 1974, and I moved into full litigation about 5 years into practice, and my career path led me into arbitrations. This was the late 80s, 90s, when there were not too many people doing arbitration in the country. But only a few firms, and I was fortunate to be in a firm where I started off as a junior counsel, then went on to become the leading counsel in arbitration cases. And we had a variety of international clients, different kinds of issues, and so on. So that led me to various things. We'll share that later. Then when I reached almost 60, they asked me to join the bench. So I couldn't refuse. And I've been a judge for 7 years, about 4 years in the High Court and about 3.25 years in the Court of Appeal. And after I retired in 2017, I decided that I will do arbitrations with the background that I had. And in the meanwhile, I had already got my fellowship of the Charter Institute of Arbitrators, even before becoming a judge. So that led me into this field. And I think I am no regrets. I would say I was fortunate that my career path led me into this. I'll stop here for the moment, Kevin.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Sudha.
Yes. Kevin, let's be on first name basis. We are old friends, as you know. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Chap Gome to those of you who celebrate. Can I make some disclosures? First and foremost, Kevin and I are very old friends. We've known each other
Yes.
for almost as long as we've both been in practice. We started our careers at the same firm, Shuklin and Bok. We became very close friends and we continue to be very close friends, but we also collaborate very closely on matters from time to time. So it's a great pleasure to be on a panel that is being moderated by Kevin. It is also a great pleasure to be on a panel on which Dato George is a member, because Dato George also I've had the great privilege of knowing from my early days in practice. And then, of course, when he was a judge, both of the High Court and Court of Appeal, and now as an arbitrator, where I have the great privilege of appearing before him as counsel. And it's a privilege to also be on the same panel as Justin, whom I'm meeting for the first time, although I'm told his reputation far precedes him.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just briefly, I started off as a litigator back in 1997, and I always assumed that I would remain a litigator until the day I retired. But somewhere along the way, I think the Almighty had some plans for me that I should broaden my scope of practice, and I started to get involved in arbitration, first as a solicitor junior counsel, and then over time as lead counsel. And of late, I've also had the privilege of being appointed as an arbitrator from time to time. Sometimes as sole arbitrator, sometimes as a party nominated arbitrator, and occasionally as presiding arbitrator. I would describe my experience as an arbitrator to be still relatively new. I don't consider myself to be an experienced arbitrator by any means, but I am happy with the trajectory that my career has taken, the opportunity to be both a litigator and as well as a counsel in arbitration practice and as an arbitrator. And with a view to developing my practice as an arbitrator, not just in terms of domestic matters, but also in terms of international arbitration. I've recently become a member of an arbitration chambers in Singapore. It's a new arbitration chambers. It's a relatively small arbitration chambers called 9 Arbitration Chambers. And we have only just set ourselves up this year. And we are, you see, once you start to get involved in international arbitration, you really have to be prepared to put yourself out there more than you would if you're operating only in a domestic context. So you're competing against the best of the best in across the world. So we are newcomers to the field, and I'm very pleased to share with all of you that we are making our first overseas trip together with my fellow members of the chambers to Beijing, and we're going to be spending a week in Beijing visiting arbitration centers, universities, meeting practitioners there, and I hope to be able to share some of these plans with all of you, because I think it's relevant for those of you who are looking to set up an ADR practice. So Kevin, thank you. I hope I've not exceeded my time.
Not at all. Thank you so much. It was very helpful. Justin, you and your experiences with Scribe and even from before Scribe, please.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Good morning, good evening, everyone. It's great to be on the same panel as many very vulnerable people. And my name is Justin. I'm a lead business development person in Scribe Synergy. To be fair, I am a mechatronics engineer by profession. I've actually have 15 years of experience in a multi-brand car assembly plant involving uh, factory maintenance, government license, and production planning. So quite different from starting from ADR. And I'm actually 3 years in Scribe Synergy, involved in operations enhancement, support, and as well as business and tech development, and also to streamline online technology, uh, including places like Become as well. So what I would like to bring to the discussion today, if permitted, is to give my take to the recent development in ADR practices, and uh, from the technical perspective or engineering perspective, and probably how lawyers and ADR practitioners can rely or collaborate with third-party service providers such as Scribe Synergy. And to be on a lighter side, when I first came into the scene, I thought ADR meant arbitration dispute resolution, which is not. It's actually, yeah, alternate dispute resolution. So the thing is, in this time and age, technology has creeped into the ADR scene. So one day, probably alternate dispute resolution may change into advanced dispute resolution. So to prepare everyone for that scene to come, I think that's what I'll be sharing today as well. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you. That was very interesting, Justin, especially what you mentioned about advanced dispute resolution. But I'm going to start off with a series of questions. And my first question, what qualifications, and this I think is going to be very important for some of the younger practitioners who are here today, who are planning to start their own practices. What qualifications, one, and two, set of skills do you think are essential for a successful ADR practitioner? Not necessarily what is it that you need to start, but what is it that you need for a successful ADR practitioner and practice, your qualifications? What is it that helped in terms of your trajectory, your career trajectory? What qualifications do you think at earlier part of your career and now, which would help you move into the next level? First, Judge.
I think most importantly, rather than paper qualifications, it is a desire to know what this is all about. ADR is defined as alternate dispute resolution, adjudication, mediation, arbitration, but some call it appropriate dispute resolution. What is as an alternative to the civil litigation that we have before us. So it's a desire to know and to improve and to understand what ADR is all about. So it's not looking for some qualification. A lawyer is best equipped because he has come kind of legal training behind him. But even an engineer can do it. And so there are so many engineers any other profession, architects, surveyors, they can, so long as you know that when disputes arise, there is a way of resolving it rather than go to court, and how you can be skillful in that. What are the alternatives you have? How best you can deal with it? And to me, although I came in as a freshie into arbitration, our exposure is one. Two, you expose yourself to conferences, to the field. I mean, there is already established arbitrators. Talk with them, have discussions with them, and that's how you get into the field. Sure, as you move on, there is also the institutes like the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators and so on, where you can get a qualification in arbitration, either be a member, a fellow, or even a chartered arbitrator. I think I'll stop there at the moment. And for me now, if you ask me what I'm looking for, is just to improve myself, to update myself as to what's there in this big field of ADR. And I do that by attending conferences. not so much to get appointments, but to keep myself updated, upskilled as to what the field is today, as far as ADR is concerned.
Thank you, Judge. So it's not just about a paper qualification that says that you must know, but it's about upskilling and being in the know throughout the entire arc of your career. Thank you, Mr. Sudha. Sudha. If I may, you are not just a qualified lawyer, but I understand you are also you also have a degree in accounting and finance as well. These are your background qualifications, but what is it that you think you need, whether you echo judges' views or is there anything else that you can add?
Kevin, thank you. Naturally, I agree with everything that the George has said. I plan to respond to the question in this way so that I don't overlap with what Dr. George has already said. One, what forms of ADR are we talking about? So the two forms of ADR that I'm most familiar with are obviously arbitration and adjudication. Now, looking at it from the perspective of someone who wants to become an arbitrator at some point in time, or someone who wants to become an adjudicator at some point in time, I think qualifications are necessary. You can't become an adjudicator, for instance, if you're not accredited to be an adjudicator. You can be a counsel appearing in adjudications, but if you want to sit as an adjudicator, you must have the paper qualifications. Paper qualifications are essential. Now, as far as arbitration is concerned, there's no requirement that you must have any kind of paper qualifications. But the reality is, if you want to be taken seriously as an arbitrator, then there are certain qualifications you must possess. And the gold standard is the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Fellowship. That really is the gold standard. And I'm not here making a pitch for the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. I'm a member, I'm a fellow, but I don't serve the institute in any other way. But it is, as far as I can say, the gold standard when it comes to qualifications if you want to sit as an arbitrator. So I'll pause there and hand the floor back to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. So it's not just about, although paper qualifications or at least a paper that says that you know what you're doing is extremely important. The question that we all have to ask ourselves at some point in time, if you want to be an adjudicator or an arbitrator, is not just can I become one, but who would want to appoint me to be one and to sit one and to pay me money to sit in the capacity as an adjudicator or an arbitrator? And what is it that you need to do in terms of telling everyone else, I am qualified to do this? Justin, you are an engineer. You have the kind of knowledge that all of us here wish we had, but don't. And yet you're here supporting the entire practice here, at least the Kuala Lumpur side, in terms of our practice. What do you think is important?
Thanks, Kevin. Just to add to the rest, but I'm going to come in from a different point of view, which is the technical side. I think that the latest developments in ADR on the technical side is that something called OADR, which is online ADR, and this sort of skills kind of became quite prominent since the COVID times, right? So we started having Zooms just like this one, so we didn't need to go to the location, and it seems sometimes a bit easier to a certain extent. So I think this sort of skill set is pretty new to most lawyers, but it's becoming quite normal in the international scene as well. So I believe that embracing these technologies is kind of like a new skill set that perhaps lawyers should look into and familiarize themselves. Not so much to seeing, hey, which microphones to buy and all that. That one, just leave it to us. But at least to have the know-how of having your presence online, so that you can convey your communications or your case to the next person. Yeah, so I think I'll start there for now. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Justin. It's not just about knowing what you already know. It really is about getting prepared for the next 10, 15, and 20 years from now. And just looking at how things have changed in the past 5 years alone and how we have changed our practices because of technology, I can only imagine how things are going to be like in the next 5 to 10 years. And we all have to be ready for it. And this is basically what Justin is warning us all about. Thank you, Justin. Now, next question. From your experiences, from the three speakers, from the three of you, from your experiences, what are the key steps in setting up an ADR practice from scratch in terms of finance, client-based strategy, human resource? Who is it that we want to join our teams immediately, assuming we have the financing to do so? Is there a strategy in terms of a client-based strategy? If all the young ones here who are here with us today and they want to set it up, what would you suggest? Make sure that you have a client base, or go there, start anyway, and see what happens from there. Judge, first to you, because you have seen it all from 1974 all the way from being called to a large firm to the judiciary, and now you're alone, but sitting at the top of the arbitrator profession here in Kuala Lumpur. What would you suggest? What are the risks that you think are worth taking, and what is it that's not worth taking?
I don't know whether I can answer that fully, because I was in the sense that it was all I never planned, so I came to a stage when it was all there. I didn't have to look for clients. I didn't have to work out a reputation and things like that. So it came in handy, but to set up, the physical part of it and so on. Yes, I decided I wanted to do arbitration and I won't be a counsel anymore. And I wanted to do it independently on my own without being affiliated to a firm. So you had your downside there. You don't have the support of a firm or staff and things like that. But the first thing I did was to prepare a CV, a proper CV. Not too verbose, not too detailed. But if somebody interested to appoint you, they will have something to refer to. Your photograph, your qualifications, your experiences, your exposure, and so on. And the next thing was name cards. These are simple things, but sometimes we don't do. You have your name cards, you distribute, attend conferences, and that's how you build a confidence in among lawyers, among practitioners. But I had the advantage that when I was in practice, and when I was in practice, involved in construction work, and I used to attend construction conferences, so engineers knew me, surveyors knew me. I was involved in land acquisition matters. So in that wider field, I was a known name, so it was just building on it. So I think the others might be able to address your questions better, Kevin. But from my perspective, this is a physical setup, but you need space. As I found, as I started in 2017, by 2018, I was doing a few, and I said, I can't do it from my house, or my room was my study in my home. So I had to rent out a place to keep my documents, to do my work privately without all this. These are essentials, the hard and the soft skills we have already talked about, and so on. Yes, please.
Thank you, Judge. Sudha, if I pass this on to you, in terms of, especially if you can help us in terms of getting ready for the finances and financing to human resources, because you have gone from a large firm to setting up a smaller firm, which you then built into a large firm, and now you've joined an even larger firm. From these experiences, what is it that you would advise all of us here when we are about to set up our own ADR practice? What is it that, what are the red flags really first that you would point out?
Before I come to the red flags, Kev, and I don't know whether I'm qualified to talk about the red flags, let me try and answer the original question, which is, how do you set up an ADR practice from scratch? And I think the answer I would give to that question is, first, it takes time. 2, it takes hard work. 3, it takes commitment. And 4, it takes luck. Now, I wasn't involved in ADR practice when I was in Shuklin. I only started to get involved in ADR practice when I set up my own firm. And my team and I uh, were actively involved in trying to build an ADR practice from scratch at my then firm. So let me start with the first thing that I think is essential. You must have the right team. Without the right team, it's very difficult to build up an ADR practice. It's not a one-person job, a one-person show. It's a team effort. And recruiting the right talent, delegating responsibilities, getting people to believe in what it is we're trying to achieve and to work towards it is all skills that are necessary, I think, in building up an ADR practice. So the first thing I want to emphasize is the importance of having the right team. Now, Kevin, you talked about financial aspects. Yes, financial aspects are also very important. You can't build up an ADR practice with no money. You need funds. You need funds in order to, one, promote your ADR practice, to do the marketing, to acquire the relevant skills. You need funds. It's not cheap acquiring the relevant skills to be an ADR practitioner. You want to do a fellowship if you want to acquire a fellowship from the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, it's going to cost you a fair bit of money. And when you're a new practitioner, you may not have the money to be able to fund yourself. You may need support. Now, my advice to you is as soon as you have the funds, or if you can get someone to sponsor you, you should work towards getting your professional qualifications. Don't put it off. The sooner you get your professional qualifications, the better for you. The sooner you're able to kickstart your ADR practice. There's another reason why funds are important. You need to do some networking. If you want to be a serious practitioner, as Dato George said, one of the things Dato George does assiduously is attend conferences. I've seen Dato George at almost every conference. He has a very hectic schedule. I don't know how he is able to maintain his hectic schedule as an arbitrator, but at the same time also make sure that he's present at these conferences and participating when he's present at these conferences. So all that takes time. It takes funding and that's a key. Now, when you start to move from the domestic stage to the international stage, funding becomes even more important. And that is the reason why many people who want to be international arbitration practitioners invariably join international firms, because that's the stepping stone to become an international arbitration practitioner. If you manage to secure a place in an international arbitration firm, you've already got the platform to promote yourself. Now, technology and tools are very important in ADR practice, and those things cost money as well. Having an online presence, a professional website, all requires funding. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, look, ADR practice can be very enriching. It can be very rewarding. It certainly makes your career even more fulfilling. But getting there takes time, takes hard work, takes commitment. It takes, you need financial resources. But above all, I think you need some luck.
Thank you. That was very, very helpful, Sudha. Justin, same question to you. Steps, at least in your mind, steps involved in setting up an ADR practice from scratch, and you've seen so many lawyers in what it is that you do, and I'm sure you've learned and heard a lot from them as well as how you have built up Scribe in the past 3 years. What is it that you need? What is it that you're going to suggest to all the young people who are here today?
I believe the first and most important thing is to not be afraid to ask for help. I think this is the most important, because
Excellent.
Firstly, when you start anything, it can be an ADR practice, it can be your own business, it can be anything at all. What you lack in the beginning is funds, as well as funds, people, manpower, and by unable to recruit those, it is very difficult to start a business right at the beginning because you're only just starting out, like everyone mentioned. So I think it's important to first seek out help from the people around you because they are the ones that have been in longer than you have. And don't be afraid to outsource if you need to, like if you need to transcribe something, come to Scribe, for example. So yeah, so I think that's the first thing. Be not afraid to ask for help whenever you go into conferences and meet Dato Varghese. Seek his advice. Go to Sudhar and seek his advice, or is it even Kevin even? So I think it's important to be brave to go out there and ask if you don't know. Like I came into conferences as well, only three years. When I first came in, I was the only engineer. I felt like I was the only engineer amongst all lawyers. So I was like very intimidated. I don't know who is who. I don't know if I'm stepping on any shoes. But slowly and surely, I got to know all of you guys, and I think it's a wonderful community. Even though in the court you may be fighting, I suppose. Yeah, I think this is the main thing as I would say. And on top of that, I believe in the ODR perspective, to be able to have the setup when you have a setup, to be able to have the proper tools, softwares and hardwares in order to make your communication bring across, right? So, because I think first impressions is very important. It makes you look more credible, less interruptions, like a loss of internet connection and all that. And as well, the most important is you get the message across, because only then can the arbitrator hear what you are saying. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So if I may just sum this up, Judge, at least this is what I take out. I can take off from this question. From what Judge said, you really have to make use of the advantages that you have. If everyone knows you, make use of that. It's absolutely not wrong with making sure everyone who knows you gets to know you even better. With what Mr. Sudha has said, if anything at all, it's about just being tenacious with what you're doing. You have to know, you have to just keep doing whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that everything works. Even the smallest item can become a big problem if you don't attend to it or tend to it. And finally, with Justin, the thing is, setting up your own area practice can be very rewarding, but it can be very humbling as well. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Everyone in the bar, whether you're in the Peninsula Bar or whether you're in Sabah and Sarawak, we're all here to help. Pick up the phone, call, ask, and we'll always be here to give you our views. Now, next question is, how do you market and promote an ADR practice to attract clients? Now, well, from my experience, starting off from a big firm sometimes can be quite a bit of a disadvantage because all you're asked to do is get the work done. The three golden words, get it done. And all we want, and all we end up doing for the first 7 to 10 years is churning out the work, productivity, produce. And then all of a sudden, when you're promoted to partner in your 7th or 8th year or what have you, then you're told, look, you're not bringing any work in. Your only value is the clients that you bring in. And then you're moved into a different kind of thinking, which you're not prepared for. What is it that every practitioner, I think, struggles with? Now, to the three speakers, what to your mind is business development? What are your practices? What do you constantly do? Of course, now we've heard the judge. You're very disciplined in terms of of being very visible in conferences. What is it that all of you do sometimes? What are your go-tos? What are your necessary targets? Is business development, is it a science or is it an art? Judge?
I can only answer you, Kevin, from the perspective I am in now. I am not a counsel or building up a practice providing arbitration services to clients.
Yeah.
I do work as an arbitrator, adjudicator, and I've been called upon to look into mediation, although I've been trained in that when I was a judge. Now, from what the little that I can say is, I think what is required from my perspective is to show that, to build a confidence in the people around you that you can handle an issue that is being brought to you and there can be a decision, as an arbitrator or an adjudicator. I think that is important. How do you build it? You have to show your neutrality and that you would be able to handle the matter in a very impartial, independent way, and also that matters are kept in confidence. The cornerstone of arbitration is confidentiality, and I think from the perspective I come, I think that's very important. Neutrality, confidentiality is a key thing as far as I build up my career in arbitration is concerned.
Thank you, Judge. Sudha. Marketing, ADR, BD.
So Dr. George has spoken from his perspective as a sitting arbitrator. Let me try and offer some perspectives from building up a counsel's practice or a solicitor's practice. I think the first thing you need to demonstrate is that you've got the requisite skills, that you've got the requisite experience, that you've got a track record. I think that's what clients look for. If you've got the skills, you've got the experience, and you've got a track record to boost your skill set and your experience, then you're well on the way to establishing an ADR practice. So no substitute for the grind, just grinding it out. Nothing comes easy in legal practice, unfortunately. Everything takes time, requires a lot of hard work and sweat, and that's that at least has been my experience, and I think it's been the experience of many others as well. Now, what else can you do in order to promote your ADR practice if you're looking to set up a counsel's practice or a solicitor's practice? Then I think, coming back to something I spoke about briefly earlier, an online presence is very important. You must have a professional website. You must engage in social media. Now, I don't like engaging in social media, but unfortunately, it's something you have to do. If you don't do, you're not, you run the risk of being forgotten. So I do engage from time to time in social media, but I try to do it as little as possible. And I try not to get too carried away with it. Next, you must be able to demonstrate thought leadership. If you want to be well regarded as an arbitration counsel or as an arbitration solicitor, you must demonstrate that you have the requisite knowledge. And how do you do that? You do that by if you're invited to speak, don't decline the invitation, accept the invitation. Nobody becomes everything requires practice and hard work. So similarly, when you're invited to speak, the first time it may be difficult, the second time a little less difficult, but over time, hopefully it becomes a little bit more natural and you start to enjoy it. And you hope that you are giving back something in return for what it is you're also receiving, because when you speak, you have to prepare. When you prepare, you learn. That's the upshot of it all. Of course, writing articles and blogs can also be helpful, but they're very time consuming. The last point that I want to mention is networking. Again, we come back to this, and you'll find in ADR, there are many associations that you can be a part of. And these associations provide a very useful platform for you to network with other practitioners and other stakeholders. So this is important, and you'll find that sometimes these associations that you become members of can then become a source of work for you. So Kev, maybe let me leave it there because I know you've got many other questions to get through too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really helpful, Sudha. Thank you. Justin.
Okay, so how I'm going to approach this question is more on my experience, recent experience actually in 2024, where we delved into experiencing LinkedIn for ourselves. To be honest, my LinkedIn before last year was zilch, basically zero. So nothing at all. It was basically more of a job script kind of CV thing that everyone had. So, but last year I actually spent a bit to get a coach to actually teach me how to do LinkedIn, and it was quite a mind. Um, it actually opened my mind that it's quite interesting. So basically, it revolves certain algorithms, uh, and by doing certain things, you'll be able to garner more uh, more presence in the online side, at least in LinkedIn for that matter. I believe it also applies to Facebook and what other platform there is there. But what I would like to caution is that although you go through this algorithm or this style of posting things and getting engagement, uh, it may or may not uh, convert into work, or rather work conversion. So you just have to be careful with that. But I think as a tool, it is good because I think the idea is LinkedIn works better for individuals rather than companies. So, for example, if like Kevin mentioned earlier, that you work for a large firm for a couple of years and then you come out and do your own, at least your LinkedIn is prominent enough that they know that, hey, you're starting a new firm, and then it makes it easier for you to start your new ADR practice. So yeah, so my point is use them wisely as tools, not as everything. It doesn't depend as everything, but as just tools. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for that, Justin. To all of us, all of you who are here, who have joined us, I think, and who have joined us, I think the three speakers have summarized what really is, what business development really is all about, into three of the most important points, really. Judge suggested, look, at the end of the day, you need to be known for your craft. And he suggested, integrity and independence are important. And if people want to appoint you as arbitrator, they must know that they're going to get a decision within a particular time frame that they expect to get a decision. You must be known for your craft. Sudha explained to us perhaps the most important thing for all of you young lawyers and all of us still, even until today, and that is the grind. There is only one system that works, and that is the finder, minder, grinder system. You mind whatever it is that you find, and you grind it through. And that really is the only system that works. And finally, at the end of the day, after all your efforts to becoming known for your craft and minding, finding, and grinding, Justin says, visibility is the most important item, really. How do you get your message across and out there? And of course, the correct social media platform is still important at the end of the day. So in 5 minutes, these three speakers, our panelists, have explained to us what are the most important elements for business development. Thank you. Now, moving on to the next question. So sorry, but I have to move on to the next question. What are the common challenges that you and across the board most practitioners face when starting an ADR practice, and how can they overcome these challenges, personal challenges, for example, sourcing clients, retaining clientele, and retaining human resource, retaining talent. Judge, what are your experiences, even if not now, in terms of, because you're not moving for clientele, but at the end of the day, your clientele is actually the entire bar, because you need them to think about you when they want to appoint an arbitrator, as well as from your first act, when you are a lawyer, you were still expected to build a clientele. What are these challenges, and how do you overcome all of these challenges? Personal challenges as well, sir.
I think you have to be honest with those who approach it. Like, I'm coming again from the perspective of an arbitrator, full-time arbitrator. You have to be honest as far as time is concerned, firstly, whether you are available and so on. Secondly, it's about conflict, and then impartiality, neutrality in this whole thing. You have to look at. These are the challenges that I see. You have to clear this conflict situation, I think, in most of the approaches that you have to be an arbitrator. And I have many anecdotal experiences as far as how you deal with it. And I consider that as one of the challenges, really. You see, you will be appointed sometimes multiple appointments. You know, it might be because there are very few firms in KL or around who do arbitration work. You have repeated appointments. You know, it's how honest you are to disclose so that people can have a fair knowledge that you have been approached here or approached there to be an arbitrator before you commit yourselves. Now, if you allow me 2 minutes, I will just give one anecdotal experience.
Please.
I was chair of a 3-member panel. A, B, and consider myself as C, the chair. Now, A has its own lawyers, has its own counsel, and so on. But they had another matter elsewhere and handled by another lawyer, and they sought my appointment as an arbitrator, where I'm already involved in one arbitration where A is involved, and I'm the chair, where ultimately I'll be calling the shots, so to speak. Now, what do? Accept it or don't accept it? I had to test it out against a subjective kind of thing. Will my acceptance of this appointment affect the outcome of the current arbitration that I am involved in? Or will it be seen to influence the kind of thinking I will have or my determination I will make in the other one? So I had to decline. It was an international arbitration in SIAC, while the other one was an AIAC. But you have to test yourself, a subjective challenge, to decide whether there's a conflict and whether you can be independent and neutral about the whole exercise. I think I'm coming from the perspective of an arbitrator. Okay.
Thank you, Judge. But that was so important, because sometimes it's not just about being aggressive and accepting every single thing that you can get your hands on. At the end of the day, as professionals, honesty and integrity should be at the very top of your list, and every single thing that you do must come from there. So to all the young lawyers here, please take very seriously what Dr. George has just explained and shared with us. Sudha, your thoughts, your views, please.
So again, I'm going to try and approach this from the perspective of a law firm, right? Now, many of the challenges are common challenges. They're not peculiar to any one law firm. They are challenges faced by all law firms. First, you have to build trust and confidence. And Kevin spoke about this. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You need to build your client base. Again, this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Then once you have started to build your client base, you must retain your client base. You don't want to lose your client base to your competitors. Hopefully, we'll come back later to talk about how we can retain clients. There's no magic to it. It's all about hard work and good communication. Then to come back to a point that I like to talk about, which is building a team, having a good team. Now you need to keep the team together. If you can't keep the team together, then you have to rebuild. rebuilding takes time. So when you have a good team, you've got to do what you can to retain that team. And retaining that team means a couple of things. One, you must be able to meet the expectations of your team members. Two, you must be able to keep your team members engaged, challenged, interested. If they start to get bored, then they lose interest. So you have to understand, I mean, people like Kevin, Dr. George and I, we've been in the profession for a few decades. We know that practice can be very challenging. You have your good days and you have your not so good days. The only thing that can keep you going forward is passion, commitment, and the desire to give your very best and not to be defeated by the challenges that you encounter in the profession. I want to talk about something that maybe is a little bit more controversial. We are all Malaysian practitioners. Now, as a Malaysian practitioner, what are the chances of us being able to build an international practice? You compare Malaysia with Singapore, the reality is Malaysia is not an international dispute resolution hub. We would like to be. We can do a lot more if we want to be an international dispute resolution hub. Certainly, some of the fundamentals are already in place, but there's still a lot more work to be done. And I feel that if local law firms want to be able to compete regionally and beyond, then we need the support of the government to make Malaysia a dispute resolution hub. And it's not going to be easy to do that because every other country in this region wants to be a dispute resolution hub. Why is that? Because there's obviously a lot of money to be made if you become a dispute resolution hub. Take Singapore, for example, take Hong Kong. But go beyond that. The rest of the Southeast Asian countries are all actively developing their infrastructure to be, effective dispute resolution hubs. First for domestic disputes, but over time, international disputes. And look at what's happening in the Middle East. The Middle East is transforming even as we speak. It's becoming a hub of activity. So I think we need to work with the stakeholders to ensure that there is a regulatory environment that is conducive to us developing ourselves as regional and international dispute resolution practices. Kevin, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. That was so important. It's certainly a topic for us to take up in another session, another day, but very, very important if the government, for the government to give us more support. Justin, challenges, your personal experiences.
Okay, so I would like to address this question from a more engineering perspective. I honestly believe that infrastructure is very important. When you first start, especially when you're starting a new business, the infrastructure and how you set your workflow basically takes off half the risks and challenges even before you start. Meaning you got a plan before anything even begins. This is more of an engineering thing, but basically we need to. What you have is years of experience in new law firms. I mean your own law firms, and then you moved on to starting your ADR practice. I truly believe that certain practices from your previous law firm will definitely help with the experience that you will need to learn and overcome challenges that come in your way. But what I meant by infrastructures is also certain hardwares and softwares. For example, how you manage your files. These will take off some of the things that Dato Varghese mentioned, including neutrality and all that, because how you manage your files reduces the risk of you mixing cases and all that. So it does happen from what my experience. So it's important that you have these infrastructures in place so that this doesn't even come into the radar. And also, yeah, I think this is some of the things. And also, by overcoming things, like I said in the very beginning, yeah, do ask for help. Some of the professionals can do it better than, definitely will do better than you in their field. So do ask for their help. They may cost a little, but sometimes free stuff costs trouble. Paid stuff definitely will help solve those problems and let you focus on your work, on what you need to do. Kevin?
Thank you very much, Justin. Very, very helpful. I'd like to move on to the next question, yeah, and which is this. If we've all had, and every single one who's here today, we've all had really good understanding clients, and we've also had some very, very challenging personalities who represent clients. It's always a challenge to manage clients' expectations in terms of outcome, in terms of your fees, in terms of how quickly you're attending to their needs. Clients who sometimes want you to skirt the very edges of what might be ethical or unethical. Managing clients who have sometimes difficulty understanding the legal issues, which is really a comprehension issue in complex disputes. Fee collection, for example, and we have all had instances of clients who have taken a lot of liberties in terms of settling their fees. And these are all the challenges that every single one of us have all the time. It never ends, just goes on and on and on, but that's part and parcel of the entire practice. But sometimes it helps when we hear from seniors like you in terms of how do you at least effectively manage client expectations and basically client relationships in your practices. Judge?
I don't know whether I should pass this question to practitioners, but from my experience as a practitioner, as a arbitration counsel and or general litigator, it's the same thing. It's how upfront you are with the clients, so that you don't mislead them into something. I think I'll put it in broad terms. Maybe Sudha can develop it further. You must be upfront. You don't mislead them, fees, so that the expectations are there. You'll do your best, but what's the downside, what's the upside of their case, and so on. Now, when it comes to an arbitrator, I don't think I'm so much bothered. My fees are secure. If it is an institutional, it's secure with the institution. If otherwise it's an ad hoc arbitration, you have the fund holding services away, like AIAC, where you can tell them to deposit the funds there before you go on and so on. Okay, I'll stop there. I'll just give you that's my input on your question, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. But although you're suggesting that you didn't have much to say, I think you said something that was very, very important, which is this: don't overpromise. Which is, I suppose, what you meant by don't mislead. Don't say yes, can, don't worry, I can do this for you. Send them a bill, and only later on I can tell them maybe your case wasn't as great as I initially thought it was, or advised you that it was. Don't do that to clients and then complain about the client. All right. So I think that was such an important point to take from you, Judge. Sudha, your thoughts, please.
So let me take up Dato George's invitation. I agree with Kevin. Dato George actually summed up the essence of client management. But let me put it in my own words: clear communication. Be realistic in what you promise your client. Don't overpromise. Provide regular updates to your client. You see, if you keep them informed regularly, you are making life easier for yourself. If you don't, on the other hand, keep them informed regularly on what's happening, if you're not transparent, then you're inviting problems on yourself. Um, Before I come to handling difficult clients, let's talk about fees. Fees are a common problem for law firms and lawyers. How do you minimize this problem? There's no way you can be free of this problem generally. I mean, unless you are one of those who can basically tell a client, look, pay my fees upfront, otherwise I'm not taking your brief. I haven't come to that stage. So I have to deal with the risks that many other practitioners have to deal with, which is you do the work and sometimes you don't get paid. So how do you avoid that happening? One, you have engagement letters. And as far as possible, your engagement letters must set out the scope of work that you're going to undertake, the fees to be paid based on milestones, and what your deliverables are. Try to build periodically. If you build periodically and the amounts are uh, reasonable, clients usually pay. If you wait till the end of the matter to bill, you could be running into problems, especially if your client is not successful. That because if your client doesn't succeed, ultimately that may be their excuse not to pay your fees. So let's come to handling difficult clients. We all encounter difficult clients. No matter how junior or senior you are, you will encounter difficult clients. And in those situations, I think you must make it clear to the client what the boundaries are. If you don't make the boundaries clear to the client, then I think you could be having problems. Now, it's very difficult for me to develop on establishing boundaries when we have a short time, but I think you must, for instance, be able to tell your client no to certain things. If you are not able to say no to your client, if they expect you to do something that is either unethical or unreasonable, then you again could be bringing unnecessary problems onto yourself. Kev, back to you.
Thank you. Excellent, Sudha. Pointers to take from what Sudha just explained to us or shared with us. Clear communication, don't overpromise, keep clients informed regularly, be transparent. Fees is a common problem. One way of getting around it is to bill periodically and don't give your clients an excuse not to pay. And everyone has difficult clients. Communicate boundaries well. No means no. There's a lot in just that one 2-minute explanation. Justin, with Scribe, you're the go-to for everybody in KL right now, and that's plainly the truth. All right, so which means that you also have problems with client. You have challenges. Let's not use the word problems, but you have challenges with clients, and you certainly will have challenges in terms of collection of fees as well. What is it that you do? How do you effectively manage this? And you're the chief operating officer. You're the man. You're the person who manages all the issues and the problems and the challenges. What is it that you do?
Well, unlike law firms, we can charge upfront. So that kind of mitigates some of the risk.
Fair, that's fair.
But having said that, onto the point of managing client expectations, I believe Mr. Sudha mentioned that clear communication is one of the most important ones. I think this is very, very true. Do not leave anything to assumptions, as I believe anything can be assumed. You basically the engineering term is assumption is making an S out of you and me. So that's to assume. But what I like to propose to point out is basically when you have when I'll probably put it up from my own experience. I believe the most important thing when running a business, may it be a law firm, arbitration, ADR practice, or even a transcribing company as myself, being reachable to your staff is very important, as when you have a staff, they are the bridge to the clients, and to be able to be clear to the clients, they need to be accessible to the decision makers in the team, i.e. Yourselves as the founding members of the ADR practice. So, so being this person being accessible, probably when you're in the beginning, you may not have enough time to be clear to everyone, but I believe maybe taking a 30-minute session every day for a good meet with your staff would be a very good practice to make sure everything is clear. Any decisions that need to be made is covered. Then it will reduce a lot of risk, and managing clients will be a lot better.
Justin, thank you. Points to take: clarity in terms of your communication with the client. Very good way of managing the client from the start. And this was, I think, very important. Access to the decision maker in the team. Because at the end of the day, the client wants to know who's making the decisions, and they can speak directly to whoever it is that is going to make the decision, the yes or the no, or the forwards or backwards. Thank you. That was excellent. Next question. Best practices for maintaining neutrality and impartiality in ADR proceedings. Judge.
I think, again, it's being open upfront. That's how you can impress or build up confidence in a person who's interested to appoint you as an arbitrator or to retain you as a counsel. So you have to give them that confidence to appoint you or to retain you. And you can only do that if you are open, and if you are you see, to me, I hope I'm not saying something which I should not say, but I'm not so much interested in the money of being an arbitrator. I can collect so much fees, if you ask me, like you talked about conferences and so on, I keep a certain amount of my arbitration fees, okay, pay for the rental to attend conferences and so on. It is your self satisfaction, your fulfillment that is more important than the fees part of it. So when this should come out clearly, not so much in your words or things like that. That it is, if you don't get so many inquiries, you don't get appointments, so you don't worry about it. Is it so? But primarily you must maintain the neutrality, that they can trust you, that they can have confidence in you. I think that is more important than anything else.
Thank you, Judge. Sudha?
So let me take off my counsel's hat and put on my arbitrator's hat, which I occasionally wear. I think in order to be neutral and impartial, you need to, first of all, do the necessary background checks before you accept an appointment. And you must disclose any potential conflicts of interest to all parties. That way, not only are you neutral and impartial, but you're also seen to be neutral and impartial. Now, thankfully, there are guidelines that you can refer to when it comes to conflict of interest type situations. And the gold standard, again, is the IBA guidelines on conflicts of interest. And the IBA has just recently released a new edition of its guidelines on conflict of interest. And that's something, if you want to be an arbitrator, you must have by your side. Because every time you're approached to accept an appointment and you're asked to run a conflicts check, please make reference to the IBA guidelines on conflicts of interest. The only other thing that I would suggest that one must bear in mind is, in dealing with the parties, you must be balanced and you must send a clear message to both parties that you are treating them equally and that there's no inequality of treatment, and that you are consistent insofar as the procedures you implement are concerned. So those are some of the points that I would like to share on this question. Kevin, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. Justin?
Well, for the transcription point of view, in order to maintain neutrality and impartiality, probably can hire Scribe to do your transcriptions instead of getting your allies to do it. Well, to be in a more serious way, yes, I do think that uh, getting a third party to do these side quests is one of the ways to maintain equality, neutrality. As long as both sides agree to it, I think that's no issue. But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. And well, the other perspective is, yeah, I think the grounds on where you do your hearings is quite it has to be quite neutral as well, which is the usage of BICM and AIAC, for example, which are neutral parties. So I can't really put any other points to that. But yeah, this is my point to this question.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Thank you. Let me just summarize this. Judge said you have to be transparent, and you have to be transparent upfront, because this builds confidence and gives reason to the parties to retain the arbitrator. That's what they want to know. Can I retain this person and appoint this person as arbitrator or adjudicator? Sudha, declare conflicts upfront. You must not just be impartial, but you must be seen to be impartial. Next thing, you must know, please, all of you who are doing this, you must know your IBA guidelines well, very, very well. Next, you must be balanced in terms of your messaging and apply your procedures fairly and equally between both parties. Justin said this, although he seems to have said it in jest, which was to appoint a scribe, but I think that was a very important point, because we've all had in our many years, we've had situations where, juniors from both sides and two different law firms who are engaged in litigation will take two different sets of notes. And then after the thing is ended, the trial is ended, both firms will be fighting over what was actually said. That always leads to, and it did in fact lead to a lot of problems, a lot of disputes, and the parties having to do this and do that to try to smooth over a particular set of notes. What Justin said was important. Go to a neutral third party. Go to a neutral like Scribe, who will be able to use the technology that they do in order to come out with a correct or a truthful or an independent set of notes for both parties to use. Very important, I think. Very lot of takeaways from this particular question. Next question. How do you handle conflicts of interest? Conflicts of interest in an ADR practice. For example, how do you deal with potentially sensitive issues? What are your do's and don'ts? Judge, of course, you have been explaining to us already about what is it that you do and that you don't do. What is your thinking, and how do you manage conflict? And how have these issues changed, if not elevated, over the years? Judge?
You see, conflict doesn't just arise between the parties themselves. It can be related to the parties, and also can extend to the counsel who is going to appear for the party, the firm, and so on. So you must have a wider perspective of where a conflict can arise. And then you will have to make a determination. It's a very subjective thing. There's a lot of things written, red, orange, green, and things like that. But still, I think it's a subjective call as to when you should feel that you will be impaired in some way from making a very honest determination, as far as an arbitrator is concerned, is it? So that's how I will look at it. Wider concept of conflict, not just limited to the parties. It can be the holding company, common directors, or known people. But sometimes you start a process saying, oh, there's no conflict, everything is okay. Suddenly you find one of the witnesses might be somebody whom you know. Yes. Then I think what is called is for you to make a disclosure, open disclosure to both parties. Look, When I commenced, I didn't know, but now he is. Let it be open to everybody. I don't think it will influence me in my decision. I think that's important. I'll just give you that example, Kevin, too.
Thank you. Sudha.
I just want to pick up from where I left off when I answered the last question. One, full disclosure. If you identify a conflict, inform parties promptly. And if the conflict is material, and the IBA guidelines will tell you when it is material, then unfortunately you must be prepared to step down. Don't invite criticism because you're not prepared to step down. Better to step down than to suffer the embarrassment of either being challenged and one party moving to disqualify you or to recuse you, or worse still, to have your award set aside on the basis that you've either failed to make full disclosure or failed to step down when you ought to have done so. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Justin.
Okay, this one is quite, maybe if I can add on to my previous one as well. Let's say if you engage a third party to do the, for example, if you invite to engage Scribe, right? How to handle conflicts of interest? I would suppose that make sure that the third party that you engage has a workflow which operates at the highest levels of confidentiality and data security. I think that this is more on the technical side, simply because by sharing documents that are sensitive, by accident could happen. So just to make sure that, like for example, I can only say for myself in Scribe that we do have confidential folders specifically for cases, and hence that doesn't happen. So make sure that any other providers, service providers that you engage has these fail safes in order to ensure that this does not occur. Yeah, that's all I have to say for this one, Kevin.
Thank you. Again, excellent. Judge, one should not have a narrow perspective, but should take a very wide perspective on what conflict is, or the kinds of conflicts that you might be faced with. It's all about being subjectively objective in determining the question as to whether or not you might be impaired in making a fair decision, and very important, continuing disclosure. Mr. Sudha, step down if you must. At the end of the day, your name is everything, isn't it? Integrity and independence. If you're hurt once, no one might want to come back to you. It's better to be transparent than to be faced with the embarrassment of a challenge later on, which might lead to reputational damage. It's just so obvious yet so important, isn't it? And Justin, again, high standards of confidentiality, because Justin's position is such that his firm is not merely a custodian, but a depository of very, very highly confidential documents. So, managing these sort of conflicts, which are so wide, especially with the kind of work that he does, it takes, it is absolutely expected for all of you here to be constantly vigilant with the kind of information that you have and how you manage it. Next question. I'm coming all the way almost to the end. I'm so sorry for taking up so much of your time, but please just bear with me. Just two more questions. There's one question that I was going to ask about ethical considerations, but I think that has already been taken up and answered and subsumed into the earlier two questions. So I'm just going to move on to the second last question, which is technology, and how can technology be leveraged to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of an ADR practice? Your own personal experiences first, Judge.
Well, I must say I'm an old school. I'm of the old school. Everything written and so on. But definitely technology has come to improve and hasten, add on to, save time and even costs and space as well, because documents can be put in clouds and so on, and drop boxes, and you can draw on. But I am learning. You must be prepared to learn new things. Scribe and those who provide transcription is there. You have got availability of on the spot notes, which you can settle between the parties within the day or the next day before you proceed, which I saw years ago in international arbitrations. It's real today, and we are not using it. Some people still squabble over notes of proceedings, even done by Scribe over a period of, they can't settle on it. Okay, that's one. But for me, let me say, and this is what do you call it, a confession sort of. My writing an award, I'm still of the old school. I need to do it in longhand. And then I get somebody to type it out, and then I can edit it online. You see? Because I think the flow of thought sometimes, this is a limitation. I don't know, many of you are already used to typing out, and your flow of thought goes with your fingers. But the flow of thought, as far as I'm concerned, it's still on a pen and paper first, and then only later. So I'll stop there at the moment. But I definitely acknowledge that technology is here, and it will assist and bring things faster to conclusion as far as arbitration and ADR proceedings are concerned.
Thank you, Judge. Sudha.
So I associate myself with everything that Dr. George has said. I only want to add 2 letters, AI. Now, you can't run away from AI. AI is changing the way we practice. AI is changing the expectations of us as practitioners. You have to embrace AI, but you have to also remember that there are weaknesses associated with AI, and there are ethical considerations involved in the use of AI. We have to learn to live and work with and to embrace AI in a responsible and honest way. That is, I think, the way forward and the challenge for all of us in the months and years to come.
Thank you, Sudha. Justin.
So I'm actually quite happy that both the other panelists are very into technology. So yeah, it makes my job easier. So yeah, technology is very important in this day and age. In fact, it's AI is just the next thing that is new in any industry. Like for example, when I was in the factories, the in thing was automation robots. So that what I came from the time where we were still using manual labor to assemble cars, and to basically it's an adoption, and I'm sure that there are resistance to technologies and AI, for example. So my point is this: it will come, as what Mr. Sudha said. In fact, it's already here. The point is, you gotta embrace it, learn about it, and use it as a tool in order to make your work easier. It won't make you redundant, as far as I've experienced, but it will make you more efficient and more consistent in your work. So, but this is my point. Other than AI, there are other things out there. For example, niche softwares and softwares that manage your ADR practices. So keep a lookout on these ones that will probably make your practice easier, as well as more consistent for everyone else. Kevin.
Thank you. Justin says you have to stay abreast and stay updated because there's so much of change and you have to use the tools that are out there to elevate your practice. Mr. Sudha says, look, at the end of the day, in time to come, AI is going to take over much of what it is that we do. Use it as best as we can, but use it ethically, because otherwise it will certainly come back and maybe troubling for us. And finally, Judge says, look, tech is here and is here to stay. But at this point in time, at least, it's not just about using the most technologically advanced items. Use the simple things that are already here for us to use. Sometimes just when you're serving documents, use a cloud service, for example, like Dropbox, for example, right? So use the tools that are here for us to use to elevate all our practices. And finally, this is the final question. This is an open-ended question, but I want to ask each and every one of the speakers, what advice would you give someone who is just about to start out in the field of ADR and setting up their own practice? Judge?
Kevin, thank you. Whether you're a practitioner or an arbitrator, I would advise those who are interested in ADR practice to collect precedents, to collect templates, build up your own templates where you can have recourse to it whenever required. Similarly, be familiar with the arbitral institutions that are around and their rules. Each of them has subtle differences in their rules. Know the differences. Understand how these institutions work and which will be helpful. This is even, advising clients as to the type of arbitration clause that you want to include in the whole thing. And also be aware, collect guidelines. There are guidelines, as I said, on conflict, but there are also guidelines about expert witnesses and so many other things that the institutions, IBA, American Arbitration Association, and so on, have drawn up. Use them. And by getting a collection of them in your own armory, you can refer and understand how you can work out for the integrity of arbitration or ADR, either adjudication or mediation. So that's my suggestions, Kevin.
Thank you, Judge. Sudha?
So before I offer any advice, let me share my personal thoughts on ADR. I think my career today is all that much more richer because one part of it is ADR practice. By being an ADR practitioner, I'm able to work as an advocate, as a counsel, as a solicitor, and as I said, from time to time, also as an arbitrator, as an adjudicator. The experience has been great. Now, my advice to all of you is, if you have an interest in ADR, start to take steps towards becoming an ADR practitioner as well. It will take time, but you will get there. And when you get there, I would like to believe that you too will be, you will feel that, your career is a lot more fulfilling than it would otherwise be. So, Kevin, thank you. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. Justin, final word to you.
Okay, so my advice on my point of view is to reiterate what I said in the beginning. Basically, don't be afraid to outsource your side quests to the professionals. What I mean by side quests are your marketing, your research, e-discovery, infrastructure, tech, transcription and recording, use Scribe lah. But and use all these tools you have available in this ecosystem so that you can focus on your work and represent your client. So yeah, thank you for having me here in this prestigious panel. And back to you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Justin, and which brings us to the end of our session today. I can tell you this has certainly been one of the out and out, best, if not illuminating sessions, which has helped me personally in terms of a lot of very important points of what I think I would take right now and try to implement into my own practice. from here. And the range and the breadth of the discussion, I think, has been wonderful. I really would like to thank our absolutely eminent, excellent speakers, Dato George, Mr. Sudasanan, and Mr. Justin Ong. Thank you very much for your time and for sharing all your thoughts with us today in BicTok 20. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you,
Kevin.
Sudha and,
Thank you,
everyone.
and Justin.
Thank you, Judge.
It's been a pleasure.
Justin.
It's been a pleasure for all of us too. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Marshall,
Thank you.
over to you. Or Marie, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin, Justin, Dato Varghese, and Sudha. It was amazing talk and listening to all of you. Very insightful. We seem to have run over today, but that's okay. I think it's worth it. I
Sorry,
hope
sorry.
everybody has enjoyed the talk today. We hope to see you for our next big talk and have a lovely evening. Happy Chop Gome, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Marie.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
Good night.
Everyone.
Be safe.